Hello, it's Karen here, Kazina, and I'd just like to do a little talk about great bits in my video gaming life. I think after doing the Saboteur video yesterday, when I was talking about how good it made me feel to blow up the bridge, it just got me thinking about other great bits in my video gaming life, so I'm just going to talk about them. The first game I'd like to talk about is Mass Effect 2, and I played Mass Effect 1, absolutely adored it. You know, it's Mass Effect 2 is probably my favourite. Yes, it probably is my favourite game I've ever played personally. You know, when we were about to play Mass Effect 2, we were all told, you know, you can import your character over from Mass Effect 1, the one that you'd built from scratch, and then you play Mass Effect 2 and you realise you actually can import your character over, and the fact that you can bring this character into your next game, I just thought was absolutely amazing. It really makes for such an immersive game. It really draws you into the game, because this is your Commander Shepard. This is the person that you have made in the first game and played through the whole epic saga of the first game, and now I can have this person in Mass Effect 2. And not only that, when Mass Effect 3 comes out, I can have my Commander Shepard in that one too. I can't wait for Mass Effect 3, I must admit. But I just thought that was a brilliant bit in my gaming life. The next one is, I'm looking down because I've got a list of games written down here because I tend to forget. The next one was in Bayonetta. I thought Bayonetta was a great game, a great game. But you know what I really liked? At the beginning of the game, you kind of get you have a bit of fighting before the main game really kicks in. But at the end of this first bit of fighting, it suddenly goes into this really sort of Japanese campy version of Fly Me to the Moon, and it really cements the whole feel of the game for how it's going to go on in the rest of the game. It's completely left to centre. It's quite bizarre, but it's just a really entertaining, magnificent game. I mean, there's a bit in the game where you're kind of doing you know, when you've got this kind of final kill on an enemy you're fighting, and Bayonetta's outfit, which just happens to be made of hair, suddenly comes off and then turns into this mad creature and devours the enemy you're fighting, and it's just an amazing spectacle to watch. I mean, it's like, I don't know, soul food for your eyeballs. It's absolutely spectacular. I have to say, it's a really good game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and certainly it's one of the games recently that has made an impact on me. The next one, I remember Batman Arkham Asylum. I remember playing that, and my cousin was with me at the time, and I was playing it, and we were both watching the game as I was playing it, and Batman's talking to somebody on one of those ear things, and you know, I've got the control in my hand and I'm sort of fiddling with the buttons, and the next thing he starts walking, and both me and my cousin went, oh, I'm actually playing the game now, it's not the cutscene. And it was one of those really significant moments in a game where you think, oh my god, it's like, it's so seamless the way it went from a cutscene to the actual gameplay, and it just shows you how far games have come. I mean, I know some games have got still got quite a bit of loading time, but the way in Batman it just went from a cutscene to him walking, no loading time, no nothing, no change in the graphics. I thought that was really, really good, and the fact that Batman actually turned out to be a really, really good game as well. I mean, comic book adaptations have always had a sort of hit and miss relationship games wise, so kudos for making Batman, and you know, I'm really looking forward to playing the next one. The next one I'd like to talk about is Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1. I've always loved RPGs. It's one of my little passions. I love many genres, but to be quite honest, I've always liked my RPGs. And I remember the very first time I played Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1, and I just remember thinking at the time, God, this is how RPG should be. Of course they've changed a lot now, and sometimes when you go back to an older game you do think, oh, you know, graphically it has aged a bit, and it, you know, some of the grinding in the Final Fantasy games can be a little bit tedious, but at the time it was absolutely groundbreaking, and it had a fabulous story, and it looked great. And when you think of how certain RPGs used to be, I mean, they could be quite tedious. I mean, I did enjoy such things like Dungeon Master, Eye of the Beholder, but they were very, very particular type of role-playing dungeon crawlers, and that was the main type of style of RPGs back then. And then they brought out Final Fantasy, and I really think it changed so much in the RPG world. Like I said, they have changed a lot since, and they have improved even more, but at the time that made a big impact on me. The next one I'd like to talk about is, oh yeah, Shenmue. When I first played Shenmue and how immersive that world was. I love Shenmue. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I love the whole immersive world of Shenmue. I mean, I know it was at the time, I don't know if it still is, but at the time it was the most expensive video game ever made. And it shows in the detail, in the way the whole game is made and set up. I mean, you can just walk around in Shenmue and you can play games like Super Hang-On, you can play Space Harrier, you can buy little toy capsules, you can go into shops and buy things, and every shop has these wonderful names like the Heavenly Shop and the Tomato Happy Shop. They've got really funny names, but and you can talk to all these characters randomly, and it's just an amazing game. I think that you can do that, and I don't think personally that type of game hasn't been bettered. Yes, there are certain elements of gameplay that have been bettered, but for immersion in a game, it knocks something like Grand Theft Auto on its head. You know, oh yeah, you can do anything. But I really think Shenmue was absolutely amazing, and I love going back to it and playing Shenmue. I think it's great when you've played through it, and then you can just go back to it and play through different parts and just walk around and talk to different characters and go into different shops. So certainly Shenmue, I thought, impressed me in my gaming life. The next one I'd like to talk about is the Shadow of the Colossus. It was one of the few games I played. I mean, yeah, when you're playing a game, it's only a game, but it was one of those games I played where I didn't feel good about what I was doing in a game. I tend to take the more Paragon type of route in games anyway, don't know, it's just me. I don't really do the renegade route as much, but when I played Shadow of the Colossus, I just thought, here's this young guy that's lost his sweetheart, and to get her back, what does he do? He goes out and he has to slaughter these magnificent, what are they called, colossi, that have been around for, I don't know, maybe millions of years, lying dormant, and there'll never be the likes of these magnificent creatures again. And he goes and kills them so that his girlfriend can come back. And it certainly was a moral kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it kind of went against my morals. It was a beautiful game, and I did enjoy playing it, but it certainly made me think, oh, I don't feel good doing this, it's kind of wrong. I don't know, what do you think about that? Another gaming moment that was significant for me, I remember playing on the Amiga. I don't know if anyone remembers this game, but it was called Major Motion, and basically it was Spy Hunter. It was a top-down view game, and I remember it was one of the first games I played on the Amiga, and I absolutely played it to death. And it really, what I mentioned in this game is that I loved it. You know, you were just this car that went around shooting other cars and motorbikes. But why I mention it is it really cemented my love for driving games, and I've never really looked back since after playing Major Motion on the Amiga. So I'd like to say thanks to that, whoever made that game, because it really did make me into loving driving games, because I love driving games. The next one I'd like to mention is when I first played Project Zero on the PS2. I played a lot of, I like horror scary games, and I've played quite a lot of them, and yeah, they can be quite creepy, and certainly Dead Space makes me jump when I play it, you know, when the creatures come out, and Silent Hill is a bit freaky, but Project Zero really made me scared when I played it. The first time I ever played it, and I mean, the premise of this game is you're this girl who's armed with a camera, and when you see a ghost, you've got to take a picture of it it's a bit like Ghostbusters, to get the ghost into the camera and capture it, whatever. But it's really done very creepily, and it certainly scared me at the time, and it's not a game. I tried playing it a couple of times with the light off at night, and it was like, oh, it's giving me the heebie-jeebies. So I suppose I'm mentioning that because that was one of the first games I played that really I thought was really scary. What does anyone else think? What game scared the crap out of you? Oh yeah, and the next game I'd like to mention is Heavy Rain on the PS3. I have heard people say, oh, Heavy Rain, it's just like a film with quick time events, and maybe to some degree it is like a film that has quite a lot of quick time events and how much gameplay is actually involved in it. But I have to say, I thought it was a really brave move of who was it, Quantic Dream, the people that made it. It looks absolutely fabulous. It tried something different, and personally I think it succeeded. Whatever anyone else thinks, I think it succeeded. It is like playing in a film, and I really enjoyed the whole story. I enjoyed the characters in it, and I do think it's a game that, even though you know what happens in the end, you can make decisions in this game where it does affect how the game plays through. So it certainly is something that you can pick up and play again. But for sheer inventiveness and for trying something different, I think Heavy Rain deserves a mention, and it deserves a little bit more respect than I think it's got. I think some people have been quite dismissive of the game, but not me. I really enjoyed it, and I think that everybody should try Heavy Rain once. Next one I'd like to mention that had an impact on me in my little gaming life is Rez. Oh my god, Rez is just a brilliant game. I think Rez is in my top 5 of games. I don't own the Dreamcast version, sob horror. I had it on the PlayStation 2, and I also downloaded it on the Xbox 360 off their arcade service, whatever. And I absolutely, sorry, I got sidetracked in my brain, and I absolutely love Rez. I think it's a brilliant game. It's just a complete visual and oral treat. It's so different to, pardon me, any other sort of game that's been made. It's just so innovative, and I know they've brought out Children of Eden, which is meant to be like Rez but better. I've not played it, so I can't give an opinion. I must say it looks pretty good, and I will certainly pick it up when I've got the money to do it. But Rez really was a game that I played and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And to this day I still put Rez in from time to time, still play it, and I love it. I think it's an amazing game, and I love the way that people try and make different games, and I wish there was a little bit more of diversity sometimes in gaming. Of course we've got to have our standard fares, and I love them, don't get me wrong. I'm not slugging off any type of game really within reason, you know, because hey, people love their Call of Duties, and I'm not going to knock Call of Duty. People love their EA Sports every year. I'm not going to knock it, but I do like it when there is something a little bit different in a game. I really appreciate it, and I like it when I know that you know, these game companies have tried to do something different, and I just wish there was a little bit more of it. And the next one I'd like to talk about is I think in my gaming life, I remember the very first time I played a light gun game, and that was on the PS1. I was a bit of a latecomer to light gun games, because I know you had your light guns with your Mega Drive and Sega Saturn and whatnot, but I didn't get a light gun until I had a PS1, and I remember playing oh Jesus, I had a memory block then. I remember playing Die Harder with a light gun, and I just thought it was absolutely amazing at the time. It really was a great fun experience, and I sometimes mourn the loss of the fact that it's, you know, the CRT tellies are going a bit by the wayside, and we're unable to use our light guns on the newer televisions, and yes, the Wii actually does play quite well as when you want to play a light gun game. You can, House of the Dead's pretty good, but I don't know, maybe it's just me with my old school head on, but there's just something good about the old type of light guns and how it used to play, and I quite miss that type of experience. I really enjoyed that experience back then. And the very last gaming experience I'd like to talk about is when I remember, and again this is on the PS1, is when I played Kenzie Sacred Fist. It's a fighting game, and I remember playing that at the time and thinking, wow, because it was a 3D fighter as opposed to a 2D fighter, and I just remember being so impressed with it at the time. You know, it's been bettered, and if you play it now, it does feel a little bit slow and a bit unresponsive. And Tekken and Virtual Fighter and Soul Calibur and whatnot have all completely bettered it. But at the time, it was again, I felt it was an amazing experience, and this transition from 2D to 3D, and Kenzie's Sacred Fist at the time did it for me. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I just thought I'd have a little reminisce about various gaming experiences in my life, and I'll do another video soon, I'm sure. Bye.